What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. Nope, that's wrong. That's not it. That's not it at all. Welcome back to Dannyology. It's episode 62, and we're going to be talking about the way of love. Dude, here's the thing. All right, like when I talk about 1 John 4 and 5, which says, whoever loves is born of God, and I say things like, you can't tell if somebody's been born again just because they've been baptized, or just because they've said a prayer, or go to church every Sunday, or call themselves a Christian, or even tell people about Jesus. That's not a way to tell if somebody's been born from above. Because what John says is, whoever loves is born of God. Paul said, the fruit of the Spirit is love. And when I tell people that, they're like, nope, yep, that's not it. That's not it at all. You can't tell by love. People love who aren't Christians. There's people who love that don't believe in Jesus. Come on, you can't tell people that whoever loves is born of God. Dude, here's what I say to that. Take it up with John, man. Take it up with John. And also what I say to that is they've missed the point. They don't know what love is. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me? Nope, that's not it. Love isn't a mushy-gushy feeling. Love isn't something deep down in your heart. Love is the gospel lived out. Love is sacrifice. Love is transformation. Love is a pouring out of yourself. Husbands love your wives? No, that's not just a mushy feeling. See, that's why people get divorced. See, because if they love their wife, there wouldn't be a divorce. If the wife loved her husband, there wouldn't be a divorce. But people don't get it. They don't get what love is. Love isn't saying I do. Love isn't spending a bunch of money on a honeymoon. Love is so much more than that. And if people understood that, then they wouldn't ask so many silly questions. I know there's no stupid questions, but that's one of them. Okay, well, not really. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like, people are probably thinking right now, oh, well, Daniel, I know the Baptists, man, they love, but they weren't baptized the right way. You bore me. That's getting kind of boring, to be honest. Because that's what John says. He says, whoever loves is born of God. Whoever gives one of my disciples a glass of water, he will not lose his reward. Oh, what about that one? That's why I always try to give the Mormon missionaries, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that's why I try to give them a bottle of water, just in case, All right, let's talk about love. So, what is love? Well, first off, God is love. Oh, how about that? Yeah, God is love. That's what John said in 1 John chapters 4 and 5. 1 John 4:7 is the passage here. Beloved, let's love one another, for love is from God, and everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. The one who does not love does not know God, because God is love. Okay, listen to this song. right, welcome back. So that was from our Sunday morning service this last Sunday. I just wanted to show that off a little bit. If you skipped it, that's okay. That's okay. But that's the passage. Love one another, for love is from God, and he who loves is born of God and knows God. Wow, what about he who has correct doctrine? What about he who worships the right way? What about he who sings the right songs, omits the right words from the right songs, and sits in the pew and doesn't sing certain verses of a song because it's doctrinally incorrect? What about that guy? Well, does he love? You see, man, this is fun, right? So love is God and God is love. Well, that's tough, huh? Reversing it. Love is God. Wow. Did this just crash? This better not have crashed. Oh, okay, sorry. Buttons pressed and whatnot. So, he who loves is born of God and knows God. And what does John say? He quotes Jesus in John 17:3. To know God is to have eternal life. So whoever loves has eternal life. Oh wait, love is a fruit of the Spirit. So whoever loves has the fruit of the Spirit. Okay, what is love? Baby, don't hurt me? Wrong. Let's keep going. 1 John chapter 13. Oh no, that doesn't exist. 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Take a look. You know this passage. You've heard it quoted at weddings, but you really probably need to actually read it. He says, if I speak with the tongues of mankind and of angels, whatever that means, by the way, but do not have love. Does an angel have a tongue? But do not have love, I have become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and know all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. Whew, wow. And if I give all my possessions to charity, and if I surrender my body so that I may glory, but do not have love, it does me no good. Even people who intentionally surrender their bodies to martyrdom can do it with the wrong motives. And Paul says, it does no good. If I have all knowledge, if I understand all mysteries, but do not have love, it doesn't do me anything. Why? Because love isn't correct doctrine. Love isn't a right system of beliefs. Love isn't orthodoxy. Love is orthopraxy. That is living right, not believing right. He says, love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not jealous. Love does not brag. Love is not arrogant. By the way, bragging and arrogance are two things that I see in people who think that they have everything figured out. Well, man, that was me too. Love does not act disgracefully. It does not seek its own benefit. Ooh, interject that one into debates about church change. Love does not seek its own benefit. Whew. That one will rile some people up. Love is not provoked. Love does not keep an account of a wrong suffered. Ooh, wow, yeah. You got that notebook with all those names in it? You know, it's tucked back in your brain of all those people that wronged you? Yeah, that's not love. Gotta ditch that if you can. I mean, I know it's like, I get it. There's some things you can't forgive. I mean, you say that you forgive them, you say that you forget them, but you don't really. I totally understand. I'm tracking with you. And this isn't the point to make you feel guilty. The point of it is to challenge you to try, right? That's the whole idea, okay? It's not like if you don't match this list, you're going to burn in hell forever. No, that's not it. This is just challenging you to just try to conform to the way of the cross. Yeah, and it's tough. That's why it's the way of the cross and not the way of the weekend at the beach. I mean, right? Like if it was the way of the weekend at the beach, then I'd be like, yeah, chill out, have some fun. No, it's the way of the cross. That's not an easy thing. Like when Jesus said, take up my cross and follow me, like, you know, he's not just take up your cross and follow me. He's not just like inviting you to a fun weekend at a bouncy house. No, it's difficult. Okay, here we go. Love does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth. Love keeps every confidence, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. That's what John is talking about. He who loves is born of God and knows God, because God is love. That's it. That's the description. That's a description of what love is. That's a description of who God is. That's a description of who you should try to be. You should allow yourself to be. Remember, Paul said, it's not I who live, it's Christ who lives in me. In other words, relinquish it. Relinquish control. Step back. Let Jesus live through you. Like, the what would Jesus do bracelets? Yeah, like make that your mantra. Like anything that happens, what would Jesus do? And then just do it. Don't even think. Just do it, right? Now, here's a quote. This is from Brian McLaren's book, The Great Spiritual Migration. Just finished rereading it. He said, the way of love is unavoidably the way of the cross. Whew. The way of love is unavoidably the way of the cross. In other words, if you're not suffering, you're probably not doing something right. Now, I don't mean like if you're not being persecuted. I mean if you're not suffering loss. Like if you're not giving yourself, if you're not sharing your gifts, if you're not being there for other people and crying with people who cry and rejoicing with people who rejoice, you're probably not following the way of the cross. That doesn't mean allow yourself to be taken advantage of by like everybody, you know what I mean? That doesn't mean to burn yourself out. That doesn't mean to be, not caring about your mental health. But what it does mean is that, yeah, it gets difficult. That's tough. That's why it's the way of the cross. It's not the way of the cupcake, right? So let's talk about love. Love is giving. John 3:16 says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son." Love is giving. We give gifts to people that we love, and it takes sacrifice. We have to take time to make it. We have to take time to create it. We have to take time to work for it so we can purchase it. We have to not buy things that we would buy for ourselves to buy this thing for somebody else. Love is giving. Love is sacrifice. Greater love has no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. That's tough, huh? Man lay down life for his friends. That's not something that you can just do on a weekend. That's not something that you can do on your couch. Laying down your life for your friends takes knowing who your friends are. It takes identifying people. It takes identifying their needs. It takes sacrificing something. I love what Paul says in Philippians 2. It's something that I don't even buy into, honestly. I'd love to do this. It's hard to do. It's the way of the cross. Something I'm working on, which is what Paul says himself in chapter 3. He's like, I'm not even perfect, but if any of us is perfect, yeah. So I don't have any problem saying that. I would love to be able to do this, but man, is it hard. He says, make my joy complete by being of the same mind, maintaining the same love, united in spirit, intent on one purpose. Do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit, but with humility consider one another as more important than yourselves. Do not merely look out for your own personal interests, but also for the interests of others. That takes faith that somebody's going to do that for you. That takes faith that your friend has your back, that your husband or that your wife has your back, that your coworkers have your back. And sometimes, you know what? They're not going to. Sometimes you're going to put yourself out there. Yep, you are. And they're not going to pay you back. And it's going to stink. That's the way of the cross, though. That's tough, but it's the way of the cross. Again, don't ruin your mental health. Don't just go into a situation where, you just allow yourself to be taken advantage of. Sometimes you got to step away. But understand that that's going to happen. If you help people, you're going to be taken advantage of. I hear churches all the time we can't help out people monetarily because then everybody will come needing money. Yeah, they probably will. They probably will. But what's more important? To help out one person who truly needs it, or to pass by on the other side because 9 people took advantage of you? Is losing out on 9 different charitable opportunities worth the trade-off of helping one person who truly needs it? Dude, I think so. I mean, think about Jesus on the cross. How many people in his day were like, yes, Jesus is going to the cross to save us. Let's, here we go. Nobody. Everybody rejected him and ran away. Like nobody got it. And he still did it. He still did it. Whew. That was that's good. That's good. Okay. Love is transformation. So the Apostle Paul, the chief of all sinners, says in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, he's talking about he's talking about his own personal situation here, right? And he says, the love of Christ controls us, having concluded this, that one died for all, therefore all died. And he died for all, so that those who live would no longer live for themselves, but for him who died and rose on their behalf. Wow, the love of Christ controls us. It means everything you do. Like, it's not you that's doing it. Just relinquish it and let Jesus work through you, which is way harder than it sounds. It's way easier to say. That's what Paul said he did, though. The love of Christ controls us. Let's go back to this husbands love your wife thing. Ephesians 5 says, husband, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it. Dude, the whole thing about like how the house is ordered, the husband's the head of the house, the wife is subservient to the husband, whatever. Dude, that whole thing, like even though Paul uses that language, it just gets blown to smithereens by husbands love your wives as Christ loved the church. One time I wrote on my blog that I felt like I wasn't being a good servant to my wife, and this dude commented, and he's like, hey, you're not supposed to be a servant to your wife. You never read the Bible? Did Jesus not come to the world to be served? To serve, not to be served? Of course I'm a servant to my wife. You know? Like, what? If I'm supposed to be like Jesus and give myself for her, that's being a servant. That's sacrifice. That blows apart the whole patriarchal way of viewing the family. Like, it tears it to smithereens. And it should. It should. Because that way of living is not sustainable. Like, if you think you're in charge of your wife, then you're not going to have a very good time. In fact, in 1 Corinthians 7, he says that the husband has no authority, exousia, over his own body. Yet his wife has authority over his body. And same with the wife and her husband. And so, like, the whole idea of how the household is supposed to be set up is discombobulated when you have the husband giving himself for the wife, as Christ gave himself for the church. I mean, just imagine that. Self-sacrificial love, 24/7, 365. That's what a healthy family is supposed to look like. Whew, what a challenge that is, huh? Man. Now, so this goes back to the idea of the cross. Was the purpose of the cross to change God's mind about us or to change our minds about God? What I mean is, the cross was an expression of God's love. It wasn't like Jesus acting like Jesus acting separate from God, right? Like they were there together, you know? It was all part of the plan, as one would say. But the sacrificial love was for the purpose of reaching out to us, of transforming us. While we're yet enemies, Christ died for the ungodly. He died for us. He died, as Paul said in 2 Corinthians 5, to transform us. And all the language about forgiveness and atonement and ransom and all these other Christus Victor, all these other things that we talk about, yeah, those are accommodative ways of talking about how the sacrifice of Jesus works, which of course none of us truly know exactly how all that works. Like it's all commentary at best, right? Because who knows how all that exactly functions. But what Jesus' sacrifice does do is it shows us who God really is. Jesus is, as the Hebrews writer says, the express nature of his image. What a powerful, powerful story. And if we would begin to buy into that for real, that just changes how we view everything. It challenges us at every single level. You know, we love crosses in our culture, don't we? We love wearing them on our jewelry, in our architecture, on our shirts. We get cross tattoos. We put cross bumper stickers on our cars. We get bookmarks with crosses. Our Bibles have crosses on the front. There's nothing wrong with that at all, I don't think. It's a good reminder if we allow it to actually remind us. A cross was the object of torture, of suffering, of pain, of death. The cross was the tool of the empire to oppress those who dare stand against it. And so what the cross should be forcing us to do is not to just focus on ourselves and our own individual salvation. It should be compelling us to take up our crosses to follow Jesus, to bring about those same gifts, sacrifices, transformation, love, and healing and forgiveness to the world around us. When the cross is just sort of a personal idol that we look to for our own personal forgiveness, we're losing the point of it. Remember, Jesus said, take up your cross and follow me. Lay down your life for your brother, as he said in John 14, 15, and 16. That whole section there, specifically John 15. And if the cross becomes that for us, then man, what a powerful message. It dares us to stand up to the empires of our day, right? It dares us to stand up to the injustices. And it dares us to be willing to give ourselves for our brothers and sisters every single day of our lives. What a challenge. So when I say that God is love, and I say that everyone who loves is born of God, this isn't some mushy-gushy thing. It is a radical life of transformation and sacrifice and self-giving. You're going to get taken advantage of. People are going to see that, and they're going to want a piece of that love for themselves without anything in return. It's going to happen. We do it to God all the time, don't we? But let it happen. It's more important to live this life of sacrifice, because that's the only thing that's going to transform the world around us. If we preach the gospel in every footstep, in every breath, in every action, in every word. Live a life of love. For the joy that is set before you, endure that cross, just as Jesus did. Care for your mental health. Retreat to the mountains. Retreat to the wilderness. But remember that 3 days later, resurrection comes. 3 days later, the tomb is empty. Easter, celebration, life, resurrection. Step into the suffering, knowing that God is right behind you, with His Spirit to lift you right back up. What a wonderful opportunity. It gets tough. It does. Sometimes you got to step away. I got to step away. You got to go to the mountains. So you got to go to the wilderness. It happens. But the world needs you to do this. God needs you to do this. You are His instrument of peace. We talked about the danger of praying for patience. What about the danger of praying to be an instrument of God's peace? Whoa. What sort of trouble would you get yourself in praying that? And yet, if we want to see the world be a better place for our kids and our grandkids and our great-great-grandkids, it's a sacrifice we have to make. Sacrifice Jesus thought was worth it. So why not follow in His footsteps? Hope you have a blessed day.